The relationship between the derivation sheet and the two diagrams is one of a foundation to its perspectives. The source text provides the raw blueprint of how a charge is hidden, while the diagrams translate that information into a timeline of logic and a map of components. The sequence diagram. A narrative of the mathematical journey. The sequence diagram acts as a procedural map for the logical steps taken in the derivation sheet. Parallel paths. While the text describes two different mathematical methods, measuring the field passing through a surface versus calculating what happens inside a volume, the sequence diagram visualizes these as simultaneous journeys that must eventually reach the same conclusion. The conflict and resolution. The diagram highlights the mystery described in the source. Why the two methods initially produce different results. It tracks the logic until the point source of the center is accounted for, reconciling the two paths into a single unified understanding of the system. From abstract to physical. It follows the text's transition from a pure mathematical problem to the real-world cloaking effect seen in plasmas, where the environment reacts to a new charge. The entity relationship diagram. A map of the physical system. The entity relationship diagram, ERD, serves as an inventory of the system's actors, defining how the abstract concepts in the text interact with the interactive elements of the demos. The source and the sink. The diagram categorizes the two fundamental players defined in the derivation. The pulsing origin that creates the field and the surrounding medium that acts as a sponge to absorb it. Connecting theory to control. The ERD maps the relationship between the physical variables mentioned in the text, such as electron density and temperature, and the interactive sliders used in the simulations. The visual outcome. It illustrates how the particles in the animations are tied to the mathematical rules of the derivation. Whether they are representing flux units that fade away or mobile electrons that cluster together, they are all governed by the same screening length defined in the source. The unified view. Together, these diagrams bridge the gap between calculation and intuition. The sequence diagram explains how we know the charge is screened, while the ERD explains what makes up that screening environment. They move the reader from the derivation sheet's complex equations into a clear understanding of the thermal tug-of-war, where electricity tries to organize space and heat tries to randomize it.